Okay, this is the one I'm looking for. Right, listen to, this is the lead author, and this is the guy that's going to debate Irina Herson. Listen to how he talks about the Dublin Declaration here. Sorry, quality.
We recently designed or drafted a...
First sentence.
We recently designed or drafted a...
Designed or drafted. Corrects himself straight away. He's realising, oh, no, I wasn't meant to say designed. I'll say drafted.
A manuscript that is called the Dublin Declaration, which is essentially a very short statement.
Even his facial expressions and body language, look how shifty he looks when he's discussing it.
Designed or drafted a manuscript that is called...
Watch his eyes here.
The Dublin Declaration, which is essentially a very short...
looks away down from the interviewer.
Statement, but it is mostly an expression of concern coming...
Shifting around.
Out of academia to try and rebalance the conversation around livestock and livestock-derived foods. Because we feel that it's very one-sided, and a lot of scientists are getting concerned that the message goes beyond optimization and rationalization and improvement of the food chain towards radical scenarios.
So, radical scenarios, he's talking about eating a bit less meat. It's this guy's job to ensure that there's misleading science that obfuscates the need to reduce consumption of meat and animal products. And so meat reduction here is this radical solution, right? Actually, all we want is, what does he say, optimization?
Optimization and rationalization.
Optimization and rationalization.
An improvement of the food chain towards radical scenarios.
Yeah, it goes beyond improvement, right? Well, this can't be improvement now.
Which could have serious implications with respect to public health, how ecosystems function, and all sorts of other important matters.
Literally listing off the arguments for reducing livestock products that he has ignored in the Dublin Declaration.
So we brought in scientists from different expertises and disciplines.
This is a good bit as well, really. Watch where he says where the scientists are coming from.
Which have mostly to do, of course, with livestock sciences and
It's such a concession, right? So, okay, these are all just people from livestock departments in universities. These are all people who are working on livestock, invested in livestock in terms of their career, probably working with the farmers and livestock producers, right? These are all a bunch of livestock people, is what he's telling us there. But he wants to rush through it and get on to...
Which have mostly to do, of course, with livestock sciences and nutritional sciences.
Oh yeah, for sure. They don't know. They don't have a conscience, right? There's no feeling bad for lying here. I know he seems to feel a little bit awkward or uncomfortable sometimes. Maybe he's an awkward, uncomfortable guy, but he is shameless in lying about this for sure. And he's going to debate it. He's going to try and defend this against Irina Herson on the 9th of October.
To sign the declaration and as such give them a voice, which is not often heard, but which...
Man, this is such like woke coded like language as well, right? It's to give a voice to the unheard livestock farmers. It's so emotive. The whole thing reeks of that first paragraph where they're talking about livestock systems being too precious and being victims and everything else. It's so... Ugh, it's so emotive. Like, what is this? This is not science.
Which offers critical mass and is important to take into account when we will move forward with this debate.
Yeah, so again, he's talking about this in terms of like winning the political discussion.
And as such give them a voice, which is not often heard, but which offers critical mass and is important to take into account when we will move forward with this debate.
He's saying more than he meant to here, I'm sure. We need to reach critical mass. This is like some talking point that he's picked up from Beef Central or something. And he didn't realize that he wasn't meant to use that actual phrase when talking about it in a ostensibly scientific context. Man, this is one of my favorite videos on YouTube, this one. Let me skip to the good.
So what we're seeing is a lot of messages that come up.
Here we go. Look at this. 1 year on was the Dublin Declaration achieved. Oh no. Yeah, here we go. Response to recent media articles have claimed livestock scientists are biased. How do you respond to that? Let's see what he says here.
So typically, if criticism against the Dublin Declaration or against similar initiatives or scientific communication comes out, typically it will boil down to discrediting the scientists by insinuating that their science is biased because of industry affiliations or industry funding.
That's the only criticism he seems to be able to understand. And if you look at the debate page here, you can register, by the way, or you can come and watch my live stream of it. If you look at what he said that he'll talk about, did you mention this here? National Home Creation. Okay, no, maybe he doesn't say this here. But this is the point that he always goes to, and that he will certainly be going to in this debate mainly. He just wants to cry about the fact that people are pointing out industry affiliations, and that actually doesn't necessarily mean that science is bad, and there's industry affiliations in other studies too. There's plenty of substantive criticism of the content of the Dublin Declaration, buddy. It's not just about the industry affiliations. I think you know that.
I want to stress that the Dublin Declaration is an independent initiative.
Where's that graph of all of the various conflicts of interest from the Dublin Declaration? Posted it on LinkedIn. Let's have a look. This is going to be my my Freddy stream. It's about time. It's about time. Where's the thing I'm looking for? Here it is. I posted this 5 months ago. Frédéric Leroy, he's blocked me, right? So the link has gone from here. I tagged him at the time. Frédéric Leroy says that the meat industry has no influence over the Dublin Declaration. He must not have seen this figure by Jochen Kratenmacher, Roman Espinosa, Eldel Sanders, Richard Twine, and Bill Ripple. The details are a little complex, so I've translated it into a classic 4-panel meme for the modern scroller. You'll see the meme in a moment. To his credit, Frédéric Leroy is indeed the only one of 6 co-authors of the Dublin Declaration who does not get paid directly by the livestock industries. The other 5 co-authors, Pierre Ederer, Rod Polkinghorne, Colette Castor, another one who's blocked me, Mohammed Kumari and Declan Troy, are all, as the kids say, getting that bag. Hoping people know about this at the FAO, World Health Organization, UNEP, European Parliamentary Research Service, European Commission. I knew these were the places that they were lobbying at the time. True, AA. True. What, this guy? So these are the various industry connections, right? Here's Freddie. And he's the only one lacking any red squares here, right? The coloured in red squares are paid commercial roles. But nonetheless, Freddie Leroy does serve on the Scientific Council of the World Farmers Organization. He's the president of the Belgian Association for Meat Science and Technology, and he's also the scientific board president for the Danone Institute Belgium. So yeah, I think he's quite involved with livestock. Now, none of these positions are paid. but he does sit on this scientific council with Pierre Ederer, who is the CEO and founder of the Global Food and Agribusiness Network, which is service provider to the animal industry. He also has a company called Gold Science, which seems to be just basically a ag misinfo purveyor. Then we've got this guy, Rod Polkinghorne, real name, founder of a company called Birkenwood, which is a service provider to the animal industry, and also a core member of the International Meat 3G Foundation. We've got this guy, Declan Troy, who is probably the one that I know least about, acting director of research at TGASC, which is Irish government agriculture body responsible for increasing exports of Irish animal products. It's a service provider and investor in the animal industry, it says here. And gets funding from the meat industry. Colette Castor, she's the CEO of the American Meat Science Association. She's the other one who's blocked me. Completely incapable of defending anything that's written in the Dublin Declaration, and actually seems to be the one who's most rattled by all of this. She offered to journalists, the lead authors here, when it was a little bit more vague before that, but Colette Castor's been, under the cosh and offered up that information. She's the CEO of the American Meat Science Association, so of course she is paid by the meat industry. Then we got this guy, Mohammed Kumari, Chief Executive Officer of Meat Division of IEH Laboratories and Consulting Group, service provider to the animal industry, right? So there's the completely independent venture of the Dublin Declaration. Nothing at all to do with the meat industry. And here's the full panel meme I translated into. Pierre Ederer and Roy Falkenhorn, livestock service company founders. Mohammed Kumari and Colette Castor, meat industry CEOs. Declan Troy, livestock service provider, director of research. Frédéric Leroy, university professor. You guys are getting paid? He's the only one of the six not getting that bag directly. No credit where it's due, but I'm sure he's going to get some cushy deals coming his way as a result of all of his obfuscation on behalf of the industry.
Coming from independent scientists, there has been no funding
So
by insinuating that their science is biased because of industry affiliations or industry funding. I want to stress that the Dublin Declaration is an independent initiative coming from independent scientists. There has been no funding whatsoever from industry or influence over what we're doing by industry.
Complete lies, right? They're coming from independent scientists. Is he joking? Or is he just lying? How can you say that with a straight face?
And in the end, the only argument we ever hear is that...
The only argument we ever hear. Frédéric Leroy has never heard another argument against the Dublin Declaration apart from industry associations meaning bias. Really? Really? Well, this was published a year ago. I've been tagging him on LinkedIn for 9 months, 22 days, 22 hours, 54 minutes, and 49 seconds. So it's possible that this time you haven't been aware of any of the other numerous published scientific criticisms of the Dublin Declaration. Totally possible.
That scientists that come with a pro-livestock message, that emphasize the benefits of livestock, that they, almost by definition, would be corrupted scientists.
That's the only argument they ever hear, guys. He's never heard another argument against the Dublin Declaration apart from they must be corrupted if they're coming from the livestock industry. And we do actually have some reason to think that that might be the case when it comes to Freddie Leroy in particular. Let's finish.
That's very problematic, and it's also very insulting.
Oh my goodness. It's very problematic and insulting. Is this...
That's very problematic, and it's also very insulting, as a matter of fact.
Come on, man. Oh my goodness. Tiniest violin, anyone? It's so upsetting and insulting that there would be any insinuation that these industry-affiliated authors have any kind of bias.
And unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Freddy won't accept it.
But we hardly ever hear scientific arguments.
Not ever or never?
We never get scientific comments, specific scientific comments on.
Oh, you do. You do, and you have, and you're going to get some more.
What is wrong in what we're saying? If you read the Dublin Declaration, and if you actually take the time to read through it, it's not a long document to begin with, and it's a very balanced declaration.
Look at the eye contact when he says very balanced declaration.
It's not a long document to begin with, and it's a very balanced declaration. It's a declaration that argues that food systems need to change, that livestock systems need to change. But it also says that livestock systems are absolutely essential if you want to have sustainable.
Now, remember what I said before about they have that line in there so that he can now say, oh, it says that they need to change. Ready? Well, listen to this.
It's a very balanced that livestock systems, the declaration that argues that.
He's going to summarize what the Dublin Declaration is arguing. Right? Remember that document we've just been reading about how wonderful livestock products are for malnutrition in the developing world and the highest standards of bioevolutionary and anthropological evidence. Remember this? We're going to get a summary of Freddy's view of what this document is.
Food systems need to change, that livestock systems need to change.
Is that what it's saying? Is it pointing out that livestock systems need to change? Well, you know what? We do have that half a sentence. So yeah, maybe it's a really fair, balanced declaration.
But it also says that livestock systems are absolutely essential if you want to have sustainable.
It does say that, yeah. It doesn't give any evidence for it. It does say that, though.
Food system. And I don't see how that could be a controversial idea. And people...
Because you haven't given it any evidence. You've just asserted at the start of the Dublin Declaration that livestock systems are too precious and that they must continue to have the broad approval of society. If you don't give any evidence and just assert that at the very start of the document and then ask for scientific evidence for the benefits of livestock, then yes, that could be a controversial idea.
Let's say that it's
this guy will never talk to me, by the way. For people coming in late, this guy has agreed to debate the Dublin Declaration, but he has not agreed to debate me. He's going to debate Irina Herson, who's very smart. She led one of the prominent criticisms of the Dublin Declaration. She's going to do a great job in that debate. But he will never ever talk to me.
Problematic declaration. Well, they would have to...
Wait. This is one of my favourite bits.
Food system. And I don't see how that could be a controversial idea. And people that say that it's a problematic declaration, well, they would have to point out which exact sentence in that declaration is problematic, and then we can have a further discussion.
Oh boy. Well, let's get back to pointing out which exact sentences in the Dublin Declaration are problematic, and then maybe Freddy will want to have a further discussion with me. I kind of think that he won't, though. Well, we'll see. Actually, before I do that, there's one more Freddy interview I want to show. Euro Meat. What's the name of the thing? Yeah, here we go. It's this one. This is the oldest one, right? This is 7 years ago. I think this is 2018 that this is recorded. So this is before. Someone's slagging him off. And I've liked it. This is before the Dublin Declaration's written, right? This is several years before the Dublin Declaration's written. Let's see what Freddy was thinking about at this meat industry conference. In an interview with Euro Meat News.
Communication about meat is brought to the larger public. It is very often based on slogans, on distortions of I think one of the main issues nowadays is that when...
First of all, he's talking about his view of how information about meat is communicated with the public, right? So just to get an idea of where his mind was 2 or 3 years before he wrote the Dublin Declaration, this is what he thinks about communication between, or communication with the public about the meat industry.
Communication about meat is brought to the larger public. It is very often based on slogans,
Tick for the Dublin Declaration.
on distortions of factual information,
Tick for the Dublin Declaration.
and it is not only misleading, it is also confusing, and even to the point that it becomes dangerous for public health.
Isn't that remarkable? He is literally describing the Dublin Declaration. Let's hear the 4 things again. He says 4 things. He's perfectly describing his own communications in the
Based on
industry.
slogans,
Based on slogans,
on distortions of factual information,
distortions of actual information.
and it is not only misleading, it is
Misleading.
also confusing, and even to the point that it becomes dangerous for public health.
5 things.
How do you think the meat industry should react to the scandals appear and to the media that is coming with a lot of fake news on the market regarding the food industry, especially on the meat industry?
There's some meat industry reporter as well asking the questions, bear in mind. Well, there's all this fake news about the meat industry.
Well, the meat industry, as such,
Right, this is the one, okay? 2 or 3 years before the Dublin Declaration's written, this is what Freddie Leroy thinks about how the meat industry should respond to quote-unquote fake news about the downsides of meat consumption. Ready for this? How should the meat industry respond?
has a difficult time communicating, because first of all, it's a scattered industry. There are no specific budgets for PR, so they have difficulties in communicating.
First of all, that's not true. There's a whole bunch of unions which have budgets for PR and use them.
And secondly, they also they're kind of contaminated because they have financial interests. So
Okay, so he's aware of the conflict of interest thing, right? This is the main thing that he seems to talk about these days when talking about the Dublin Declaration. He's hyper aware of this conflict of interest point. So what is the solution then? How should the meat industry communicate with the public, Freddie?
it is not very obvious for the meat industry to communicate. Communication has to come from somewhere else, I believe. Communication has to come from academia.
Do you see that? Did you hear that? How should the meat industry communicate is the question.
Have financial interests. So it is not very obvious for the meat industry to communicate. Communication has to come from somewhere else, I believe. Communication has to come from academia.
He's saying the quiet part out loud. Mate, you weren't meant to say that out loud. Fast forward a couple of years, and this guy's lead author of the Dublin Declaration. Do you think that he regards the Dublin Declaration as communication on behalf of the meat industry? Yeah, I think he probably does.
From people that do the research, that look at the facts, interpret the facts, and come to sound.
Look at his little hesitation.
Look
here.
at the facts, interpret the facts, and come to sound conclusions.
There's a little thing like, doesn't want to say, come to conclusions that the industry likes.
And bring those conclusions to the public in a way that is based on state-of-the-art science, rather than on hasty and sloppy interpretations.
HD and sloppy interpretations.
Is the meat industry
This is an unbelievable clip. This is him 2-3 years before the Dublin Declaration's written, saying this communication with the meat industry has to come from academia and from science. This guy's absolutely cooked.